We should be getting close. So, and I will wait for the update of when we actually go online, which I don't know when it's coming, but it should be online now. Jonathan, can you give me the thumbs up when we are online? I wish I could see it from my end, but I can't. We're good? Okay. Did he say good? I can't hear anything. This is crazy.
Yes, please.
Okay. So technical difficulties, of course, but welcome to this episode of Talent Tuesday Live with Leah. Today, I have a very special guest coming to us from Granbury, Texas, from Pecan Valley Centers. She works as a director of HR in a behavioral health community setting. And I am so happy to have you today, Hallie. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Leah. We're so excited to be here.
Oh, good. I'm so happy that you're here. And I see that we are online and we've got some people joining already. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. This is going to be a really interesting conversation. And if you saw my post, you can get SHRM PDC credits. Our assistant, Joanne, will be sharing that activity number towards the end of the show. If you have any questions about the comments about the topics that we're discussing today, or if you have specific questions for Hallie, please go ahead and enter those in the chat on right here on LinkedIn Live, or wherever it is that you're watching, and we should be able to see those here on the back end, and I can ask her those questions. Also, please go ahead and let me know where you're logging in from today. Right here in the chat, drop a comment. Let us know that you're watching and tell us where you're joining from today. So without further ado, Hallie, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself to this audience today and tell them just a little bit about yourself and about your position at Pecan Valley?
Absolutely. Thank you, Leah. First, thank you so much for having me on at HR Maxima Live on Talent Tuesday as a representative for Pecan Valley Centers. I always enjoy having the opportunity to educate individuals of all walks of life about behavioral health and the importance of living a mental health lifestyle as healthy as possible. So I have been an HR director here at Pecan Valley Centers for a few years now. I started as just a secretary in 2013 when I first got out of college. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to provide some sort of support to a greater mission. And I quickly fell in love with Pecan Valley Centers. I knew about Pecan Valley Centers from a child. My mother used to be a consumer at our office, our Granbury office, actually. And so I always knew that they provided behavioral health care services. I didn't know what that meant as a child or growing up, what mental illness was, but I lived in a home with a mentally ill mother. But needless to say, she was a prime example of what an individual with mental illness how they can thrive in a community and how they can excel and how they really are no different than anyone else in our community. So I was so excited to have the opportunity to start as a secretary. And from there, I just blossomed. I fell in love with human resources because, in my opinion, we're servants to the organization. And so I've thoroughly enjoyed just providing the boots on the ground individuals who provide that client care to the individuals in our communities. And from there, I've just grown with great mentorship. And so I've been here for about 9 years now. And if I'm not working full time, I'm going to school. I'm in my master's program for human resource management. And I am a mother to 4 kiddos. So I stay super busy.
That's so much. You do so much.
It's a lot, I know.
And I think one of my favorite parts of your story when I got to know you, and when we spoke the first time on the phone, was you told me about, you're a mom to 4 kids, you have a full-time job, you're getting a master's degree. But what I thought was one of the most interesting things was that you started at this position in a pretty entry level, like HR generalist type of role. And throughout as you finished college and then moved on in your education, you really wanted to go into the HR field, which we talked about a little bit not a whole lot of people set out and are like, I want to be an HR. This is so cool. But
absolutely, I did not.
Yeah,
I thought I wanted to be a case manager here, working with individuals with mental illness. And I quickly learned that that was not for me, and I enjoyed supporting those individuals. So I fell in love with HR. I think I fell in love with the people in the human resource department and my executive directors, and they just became my family. So, you know, unlike a lot of individuals my age, I haven't hopped jobs. Everything I've learned has been in the office working with individuals who have more education, more experience than I do. So I just love to soak it up and use every opportunity I can to advance my knowledge that way, because I'm a much more active learner than I am, you know, just from a textbook.
Wow, no, it's an amazing story. I think it's a great story. And I also love that you were aware of what Pecan Valley Centers provided, because you had, you know, personal family experience with it. And I was talking to another community-based health system here in Texas just yesterday, and they were telling our team how many employees they get that were actually patients, because they have this amazing experience being a patient, and then they're like, I want to be a part of this. I want to help other people. I want to, you know, like in an HR role, help support, or I want to help deliver care, whatever it is, but they believe in the mission of the organization. So clearly that's what's going on for you at Pecan Valley. So thank you so much for joining.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. So and your introduction was wonderful. I'm so happy to have you. I know that you're an incredibly busy mom and professional, and I know that this took a little bit of time and effort to do. So thank you. And thank you to the people that you report to and the people that rely on you for their guidance, for letting us have an hour of your time today. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So, and for all of you that are watching, why we decided to do this show today on April 27th is basically to help kick off the month of May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I thought it would be a great idea to have Hallie come on and talk about so many resources and examples of how HR people can support their colleagues and their employees in their function as HR. And also she has some amazing examples of ways that they're able to help. And then also we'll be sharing a lot of resources, online resources, government resources, grant information. This is just going to be a great conversation. I can't wait.
It is. So about Mental Health Awareness Month, a lot of people don't understand or maybe know why we have Mental Health Month in the US. So I'd like to talk about that for just a second. And so it's actually been around since 1945. It's, from my understanding, it's at least 72 years old. And Mental Health Awareness Month was picked in May, mainly just to celebrate the nation's progress in increasing the knowledge and awareness of mental health and living a healthy mental health lifestyle. So it really is beyond just a month, but we really love to use that month to specifically hone in and have all these collaborations around behavioral health, hold events, share articles, raise awareness. There's tons of walks that are always happening out there. The NAMI, National Alliance for Mental Health, does a yearly walk. And usually it's a 5K run or walk, things of that nature. And it's just all about promoting mental health and breaking that stigma, which you and I have already talked about, the negative stigma that's around mental health. So it's a great month. We'll talk about what Pecan Valley Centers does for Mental Health Awareness Month. I'm excited to do that. But just in general, it's been something that the U.S. has really taken on. And I'm really proud to see it grow just over the 9 years I've really been in the field.
This is wonderful. Thank you for explaining that as well. I really appreciate it. And so I told you I wanted to start with you letting our audience know what your biggest win, either professionally or personally, has been in the past year. We know it's been a very tough year for mental health, for professional growth, for family growth, for everything. I mean, we're all dealing with it. But I wanted to start out this conversation, like I do every week, and find out what one of your biggest wins has been.
So on a personal level for me, obviously in the wake of COVID, the biggest priority is to stay safe and to try to keep on as business as usual, or, at least the new normal. And that can be very complicated. So I'm a little bit of a rebel. And for me, like, obviously, Pecan Valley Centers, we had a lot going on when COVID hit. And thankfully, we were one of the few agencies that did not see a decrease in our workforce. We actually grew tremendously because of the services that we needed to provide. And thanks to, outside influences like FEMA, who helped us create a crisis counseling program for individuals who were struggling with the COVID event, whether it was counseling services or housing services or just economical services that was there for them. So as a professional, that work-life balance has always been important to me, especially after becoming a mom. So I made a point to make sure I still did things I loved. So during COVID, I still traveled. I know that sounds scary to some people, but I did it in a way that I stayed safe. Like, my husband and I went to Colorado and we stayed in Airbnb, we ordered in food, and we just chatted, hung out, took a hike, and then stayed back. So I made a point with my, leadership support to take those breaks and to make sure that my mental health stayed healthy so that I can come back and get back to the battle of COVID, is what I like to call it. HR, it was a battle. Let's just be honest, for all industries. We talk about the nurses and the doctors and the importance of them being on the front lines, but someone has to be behind them to support them, correct? And some of those people are the HR people that are not seen. And so I was grateful that was a win for me. On a professional level, I did talk about how Pecan Valley Centers more expanded in the workforce. We went from about 292 employees to 325 in a year's time. So I'm really excited about that. But more importantly, we were able to obtain our CCBHC credential, and that is a Certified Community Behavioral Health credential that out of 39 LMHAs, or local mental health authorities, I believe only about 11 to 15 have this credential right now. And what that is it's now what's considered the gold standard approach to behavioral health care. It is treating the whole person as in its entirety, beyond just mental health, but addressing their physical health needs as well, and even social or socioeconomic goals. So now that we have that credential, we were able to expand our workforce and hire care coordinators that help our consumers meet their behavioral health needs as well as their physical needs, whether that is ride to the doctor's office, looking for resources for the physicians, services that they may need, whether that's looking for housing or employment needs. These are things that LMHAs had little, it was always something we wanted to do, and it's always something we always continue to do. But with CCBHC and the grant that we actually received through SAMHSA, we were able to hire more staff to better prepare our consumers with these types of services.
I mean, it's amazing how much you did in the past year and that you grew. I know that a lot of organizations, they weren't able to grow. They laid off a lot of people, but that you are a provider of this community type of service. I think it's so phenomenal. And it shows that you guys obviously have phenomenal leadership and you're moving forward with the mission of being a community provider of mental health services. Yes. So one of the things I wanted to lay out kind of at the beginning of this conversation was you shared with me a lot of information. You educated me, quite frankly, about, and you want to educate the viewers about the mental health system here in Texas, and kind of talking about how Pecan Valley is one of 39 centers that are local mental health authorities, and kind of how that breaks up in the state of Texas and basically where you serve.
Absolutely. So every county in the state of Texas should be served by an LMHA. We're known by many different names. You also may know as MHMR, or Community-Based Center. We like to go by LMHA, or now CCBHC, because we're so proud of that title. But we are a small to mid-sized center that serves 6 counties, but every county should be served by an LMHA, like I said. So there's 39 in the state of Texas. We serve about 2,500 individuals in our 6 counties, and about 500 youth. So some counties are larger than others, and so that means other centers are larger than others. So a lot of the services are provided can vary between centers to center, but hopefully with CCBHC, you'll kind of see the same service practice among each of those counties. So it's the way the state has decided to be the safety net for mental health for individuals who have no income or low income, or have Medicaid for children who need mental health services. And so I like to say we're a safety net. We're not the first choice for behavioral health care, but for a lot of times we're the only choice for consumers. And so that's why you don't really see us marketing a lot. We like to educate community about what we do, because we're a nonprofit. So we don't receive funding for what we do at this time. It's more just providing that service for the consumer out in the communities.
Okay. No, I think that was a really great explanation and kind of overview. I know it's a broad system. There's a lot of people in the state of Texas.
So many moving parts.
Yeah, a ton of moving parts to this. So let's go ahead and get into, we were going to talk about the top 3 things, or top several things, probably 3, that HR departments need to do to support their employees' mental health.
So, a lot of organizations don't maybe understand the importance of having a mentally healthy workforce. And, I can throw statistics at you all day long that you can find on SAMHSA or NAMI website. But, one of the biggest ones for me is 1 in 4 people struggle with mental illness. Some of the biggest mental illness hitters are depression, anxiety, PTSD. So it's crazy the amount of stress that individuals these days go through. And so when you have 1 in 4 struggling with a mental illness, I mean, just think about the size of your agency, and just know that 1 in 4 of those have some sort of mental illness, or struggling with some type of stressor that is absolutely going to affect their performance in the workplace. I mean, wouldn't you agree, Leah?
Absolutely. I mean, you can't separate your life and your work anymore, especially because a lot of us are working from home, and there's just no way. And of course, when you're having dealing with a mental health issue or a mental health crisis, it is going to affect every aspect of your life, and you can't prevent it from affecting your professional life.
Absolutely, and it's hard. It's a hard balance to go through, because everyone loves to say, don't take your home life to work, right? But it's just almost impossible to do that. So when you're struggling with life stressors, or depression, or anxiety, or some type of trauma in your past life, and you're trying to be productive at work, and you may have something set you off that sets anxiety off, or that PTSD off, it's almost impossible. So one of the things that I have learned through my leadership is you have to have leadership buy-in to create an atmosphere that promotes healthy minds in your workforce. And so it's easy for me to have that support, and it's easy for me to, promote this mission because of who I work for, right? So Pecan Valley Centers would not be as successful as it is if it wasn't for like-minded individuals who taught me how important it is to have a mentally healthy workforce. And so the first thing I would encourage any HR department or employer who has a say in leadership to get to that top management team and say, hey, you need to know why mental health is important, and what we need to do to make sure that our employees are as healthy as possibly, not just mental, but physically as well. And so with that leadership buy-in, that will start creating a better culture. And so when you do start raising that awareness, which is the second point I would make, or how to access those benefits, your leadership will be the lead example, and they will help trickle that information through your organization. And when those employees see how serious and excited that leadership is about the topic, then they'll be the same. So I love to call make it a business case, because leadership, like, we all have different positions in leadership. So we all know what HR's role is to doing, right? But your CFO may be like, why is it important for our staff to have mental health benefits? Why should we have to pay for this? I pay for an EAP, an employee assistance program. So why should I do more incentives? And so I would go do your homework. I would say, well, CFO, it costs you this much a year whenever we have low performance, or we have people resigning due to stress, burnout, or they're struggling with some sort of mental illness that only the HR department will know, because they work with those employees. So I would highly encourage making your case to those needed individuals in the leadership. So if it is recruiters or supervisors, here at Pecan Valley, we have chiefs of IDD, intellectual developmental disability, and we have chiefs of behavioral health. I would say, well, the performance, how are your employees' performance doing? And if it's something that's out of ordinary for them to not be performing as high, you need to be talking to them about what's going on beyond just work. Maybe there's something going on at home, and offering those behavioral health benefits or incentives that you could put in place that you prior maybe didn't have, because HR didn't make the business case, if that makes sense. So I would encourage leadership buy-in first and foremost. And when you get bad, it's going to make it a lot easier to change and cultivate a healthy mental health organization, if that makes sense.
Yeah, a mentally healthy organization. And,
yes.
And I totally love that you did that with the make a business case, because I think we have been talking about that for years, that HR has always been seen as a cost center, and as only a cost center, and only as a support function within a larger organization. And finally, we're starting to see people with these titles, CHRO. They are the chief HR officer, because they understand, organizations are beginning to understand that HR needs a seat at the table. They influence so much that happens within the organization and within the culture and within the environment and your employee engagement. They are absolutely essential to the functionality of a business. So by making that business case, you can really help maybe executives understand, or people in leadership understand, it can affect our bottom line. And it's kind of a strange toss up there. Do we want to talk about it affecting our bottom line, or do we care more about the people? But I think that there has to be a happy medium there, or an understanding that it's both. We want to be empathetic and understand. Yeah, we want to understand individuals on a personal level, but we also want to make sure that our business is solvent and financially responsible. And those two things are not mutually exclusive. They are actually very, integrated. So you shared leadership buy-in, awareness, and then what was the third thing that HR department?
The third would be access to the benefit services and what benefits are out there for your employees. And so backing up to the second topic of before access would be raising awareness. And so once you have leadership buy-in, creating a working environment that cultivates an atmosphere that promotes good mental health, you will see a better workforce. Ideas for this, they're simplistic. We are a smaller agency. We have limited resources for what we do. So I have to get super creative. I have a team of staff who help me create ideas, as well as we collaborate committees that leadership that is involved in. So one of the biggest ideas that we brought in a few years ago was we created a workforce development team. And what that is, we just put an application out there in our workforce. And because we're spread across 6 counties. So it's really hard for us to stay connected on a face-to-face basis, but we meet monthly and we discuss topics that are important to the employee. And of course, one of those topics are good mental health. Also, inclusivity, diversity. I mean, the sky's the limit for these topics, but we allow our workforce to choose that, and we listen to what their needs are and what their wants are. And my team just helps coordinate those ideas and put them in a platform where we can implement it into the workforce or bring it to leadership's attention to hopefully make change. So I would encourage agencies, if they are limited on funding, this is a simple, easy way to get staff's buy-in, to hear what they have to say, and you'll be surprised what that platform does just for them to express any productive concerns or ideas for good mental health. So like this month is Mental Health Awareness Month, and one of the ideas that came from this committee was holding a mental health staff appreciation day. So at the end of the month, now that COVID's kind of subsided a little bit, we feel a little bit safe. We're going to hold an outside event at the end of May where we just close all of our locations or put on skeleton crews, and we all meet at the park, and we are going to have food, we're going to have games, we're all just going to hang out, let everyone socialize since we haven't had to do that in such a long time, and just do a check-in, check their pulse, see how they're doing, and letting our leaders and our employees really connect on a more personal basis. And I really think that that will alleviate stress and also helps create a very more cohesive and inclusive workforce. Another suggestion, Leah, would be an employee newsletter. Many organizations have these on an intranet page, creating like a mental health corner where you're sharing information about mental health resources, their benefits, possibly, and inviting employees to put feedback into these newsletters. One of the biggest things is use your resource, and your resource are your employees. So it doesn't take a lot of money or a lot of work whenever you're doing it as a team effort.
That, I mean, that phenomenal information and resources. And I think that a lot of people that are, watching this or maybe viewing this on replay, they will be able to visit some of the sites that you're going to share some of the information and really start consciously integrating mental health awareness into their day-to-day practices in the HR field. So I'm just excited about this and want to keep on talking. I know that there might be an issue a little bit with my audio, so I apologize for those watching, but let's move on to, you were going to talk to the audience a little bit about some of the online resources for HR practitioners. And our team will be putting those in the comments so that you can copy and paste those so that people that are watching will have those resources available.
Sure. So SAMHSA stands for Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services. So that is an online resource for any individual. It's not necessarily employer-based, but I, as an HR rep, have gone in there and I've endowed myself with their knowledge and thought about how can I use this for our employees. And so something you said at our last meeting was posters, printing off education material, posters, and putting them in the workplace it can go far. Just keeping mental health awareness in the forefront, even beyond May. Every day of the year should be that. NAMI, which is a National Alliance on Mental Health, that's a website that is also free, and we're not necessarily a partner with them, but I love to use them as resources. And they also have printables. They have a lot of information. They have hotline numbers for individuals who are seeking immediate help. So I encourage that as well. And for an employer standpoint, I really love Workplace Mental Health website. I know you and I were on there earlier. They have really cool podcasts about placing mental health topic in the workforce and combating that stigma. And also what you can do as a supervisor to support your employee as well as keeping the business mission in the forefront. So I highly encourage you using all of those resources to see what you can do in the agency to promote mental health and keeping your staff healthy as possible.
Yeah, I mean, those are phenomenal resources, and Joanne is going to be sharing them in the comments. I wanted to highlight the one that you just shared about workplace mental health. It's the Center for Workplace Mental Health, and it's provided by the American Psychiatric Association Foundation. And they have, you guys, you have to check this out. It's amazing. am only very recently aware of this association and foundation, but it is really just a wealth of information about mental health resources. You know, there's information in here about working remotely during COVID. There's like Hallie said, there's podcasts. One of the things that we just saw like moments ago was the mental health calculators, and talking about making a business case for why mental health is so important. They literally have a calculator in here that helps you calculate personalized reports based on your workforce demographics that can show the importance of prioritizing mental health in your specific workplace. They have, you know, amazing resources and links to other information. So definitely, Joanne will share that one. It's workplacementalhealth.org/employer-resources. And yeah, and then she'll also share it. It's SAMHSA, right? The SAMHSA grants. Okay. And Pecan Valley is a recipient of a SAMHSA grant. Is that correct?
Yes. So we are one of few who were awarded the SAMHSA grant. It's $2 million to help expand our services over a year's time. And so with that, we hire nurses, LVNs, RNs, qualified mental health professionals. So we were able to hire what we call care coordinators, and they're individuals who help bridge the gap between physical health care and mental health care. So we are so excited to have that grant and so grateful for that as well.
That is wonderful. Yeah. And I have, Joanne just sent me a message and said that there's a couple people watching on Facebook that aren't on the LinkedIn Live. And I think one of them might be your mom.
Hi, Mom. Love you.
Jean Renee Dreyer.
Yes.
Yes. She said, hi, sweetie. So proud of you. Love, Mom. That is so cool.
Yep. That's my mom. Just a small town girl. We're all like a family here.
So for those of you watching, you can actually watch this on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. So there's people at different audiences, but I'm looking at the comments directly from LinkedIn right now, but we have some people that will go and check them on other places. So thank you guys so much. I see that Ashley Womack says hello to Hallie, and so did Felicia Woodward.
Well, thank you.
I think you got some serious fans.
Yeah, Ashley Womack is our chief of behavioral health care. So
okay.
She works with Pecan Valley Centers, and she too is one of the top leaders I was talking about who loves to cultivate a good mental healthy organization. And so, you know, talking about access to services for our staff, that's another one is employee collaboration beyond just the employee, but creating collaborations amongst different industries and services like local mental health authorities. We all collaborate and we talk about these topics and how to not necessarily reinvent the wheel, but use each other's ideas and action plans to make our culture a more healthy one for our employees. So I would encourage that as well, and reaching out to your local mental health authority as well, especially if you don't work in behavioral health fields. I know Pecan Valley Centers, we work with the Sheriff's Department, the police departments, the schools. We have so many different programs. They're so robust that's out there for the community for just education beyond services. So at any point in time, I know your local mental authority would be happy to help educate and help give you ideas to implement into your workforce to make it a better, healthy, mentally workforce. So,
yeah. And I think that is, if you don't know where to start there. Start with your local
absolutely. Start with us. That's what we're here for. We're servers. So that's what I learned from our executive directors, we're here to serve. And fast and foremost, like, you know, with COVID, we never shut down. And although our clinics might have had to close their doors, we all worked from home. Or actually, I have to take that back. Our doors didn't even close. I think we had at least a nurse, a secretary, and a case manager there at all, just Monday, Friday, even some Saturdays, giving out medication, walking it out to the consumers' cars, whatever it took to make sure that our consumers got what they needed. So for some of us, it's been business as usual.
Yeah. So, okay. So you've been giving a lot of resources and tips, and, you know, you really do know so much about the mental health workforce, you know, from an HR perspective. But you shared with me something interesting earlier that you wanted to share with other HR people about, you know, we give a lot of advice and we're the go-to people for a lot of different parts of our organizations, but sometimes we don't practice what we preach. So can you kind of expand on that and tell them the story that you told me?
Yeah, so exactly what I said. A lot of times we don't practice what we preach. We always encourage employees to take that day off to get that mental health service or whatever it is that they need. And so we get exhausted whenever, as servants to help our organization, be the most successful as possible. So, I worked here for 8 or 9 years, and when I first started here, all I wanted to do was prove myself. And so that meant coming in early, leaving late, weekends, all volunteer basis. When I was an assistant, I volunteered to go to all the health fairs. I volunteered to go to recruitment fairs. I even volunteered to go to terminations. Like, who wants to be a part of that? I did. I was a nerd. I can't help it. But so, I think I banked up over 400 hours of PTO. And the last 4 years, I finally started managing the HR department, and stress became very high. I really just took a note out of my leadership's book and watched them make sure that they had time off that they needed. And I, at first was nervous to ask for that time off or ask for that vacation, but I think more than anything, it's important to be transparent with your supervisor, even if your supervisor is the executive director or associate executive director, because they're human too. They know you're human. They want you to be successful. And part of being successful is making sure that you're taking care of yourself. And so now, I make sure to take time off every 6 months, sometimes more. Whenever we're less busy, I make sure to take that break. Then knowing that we're going to come up on a busy time year, like, budget year or any type of accreditations that are coming our way, I try to plan around those big monumental projects so that when these do come up, I can give it my all and I'm not burnt out. I'm not, too tired. So I tell my staff, don't lie about needing a day off for mental health. So here at Pecan Valley, we're like, we need a mental health day. We're taking PTO. And I encourage that for other industries as well. Maybe make it a mental health floating day. Or thankfully, our program here is paid time off, and we use our time any way that we need to use it. So I'm grateful for that. But a lot of other industries don't have that. They have vacation and sick leave, right? So yeah. So maybe get creative with your employee benefits and be like, we're going to implement a mental health day, that floating day that you can use throughout the year just for, hey, I need a timeout. I need to take care of myself. And part of that is me taking care of myself is coming back and being a better performer.
Yeah. I feel like you glazed over it. You literally accrued 400 hours of PTO. That's like 2 to 3 years.
I did, but just now over the 2 years since I've really been taking a page out of my leadership's book, I'm probably down to 200 and so. But that's just how productive and time I've set apart for myself. And it's been a whirlwind, but you haven't seen, my productivity fall at all. You haven't seen, if anything, we've grown. And, I've grown as a department, and it's all thanks to just having a great team collaborative where we all work together and we make sure that our mission is first and foremost, and we also take care of ourselves. So I could not be happier to learn from my leadership and my colleagues in that respect and do those things, because I'm a much happier and healthier person.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of evident. I told my team earlier, I was like, you guys are really going to like this. Hallie's basically just like a ray of sunshine.
Oh, thank you.
You really are. It's so nice to talk to somebody so honestly and earnestly and authentically about mental health, because there is a lot of stigma attached. And yes. I think we're finally moving past it. And that may be one of the rare positive byproducts of COVID, was that we all realized very quickly that, oh my gosh, mental health is so imperative. It is, you have to have a mentally healthy workforce to move forward. And I think that this is a great conversation to be having. And I hope that other HR organizations and those that are watching, whether it's a healthcare organization or anything, any industry, that you really take the time over the next month. Like you said, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, but we can do it anytime. But really take the time to sit down and think about and look through, like, do you have a a committee in your organization that you talk about these things. If you had a mental health issue, do you know who you would talk to? Do you know how to access your EAP benefits? And if you don't know how to do it, others probably don't either. So
Absolutely.
creating that awareness, creating that avenue to get help if needed.
Absolutely. And if you don't have an EAP, employee assistance program, you need one, first and foremost. It's totally worth it. And HR, not just HR, but all management and even staff should know what their benefit is. And I mean, our agency pays for it. It's free to our employees. And so I can tell you every single benefit in our EAP, but so can my supervisors. So they know that there's 5 counseling sessions in our EAP for per issue, as well as, you know, if you have a medical tele app, I know we have a tele app here for physical health. Look to see if they offer mental health services, if they can speak to a counselor if they need that. So you'll be surprised with what you may already have, just to educating your management and your staff about that. So I have employees now who will share this information with other employees. I'll have Sally Joe call me and be like, hey, Ron so-and-so told me that we have an EAP program and that there's counseling in there. Can you please help me? Can you send that flyer over? The fact that they already know that they have a flyer is insane. So this should be an open conversation. It should be easy to talk to you about. And I love that our staff are so open to coming to HR. I have an open door policy, or even our executive director, AED, coming in and saying, hey, I need help with the EAP, and they will drop everything and do what they need to do to get the job done. So looking into the EAP, obviously looking into your collaborations with the committees we talked about, and then looking at your health insurance, I think is important. Whatever your carrier is, I know Blue Cross Blue Shield, United Healthcare, they all have healthcare benefits that I believe should be offered to employees. And so look at those costs and seeing if that's something that can be provided, because a healthy mental individual will last longer. It will help with turnover, retention, and they'll feel valued. So I'm telling you, at my age, like 30 years old, I would not be here if it wasn't for how much I feel valued and knowing that I have the support that I have from top management. So I know there's people out there in the world who can't say that. So these are all easy tips and tricks to management to use this to have employees be able to say that, like I can say about Pecan Valley Centers.
Well, I think it speaks volumes to the fact that, you're young and you're not the typical job hopper. And I hope that we get rid of that term, because I don't like it in HR anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
The workplace is changing.
Opposed to trying different things, but it's worked out for me. It just has.
And it's more rare that you see somebody stay at an organization this long, but it shows that I think it speaks to that Pecan Valley is doing something right, and they're offering you a great positive workplace. They're offering you, that engagement, that career development and growth, and that you might not get at other locations. So whatever you're doing a great job. So wonderful.
Well, in HR Maximum, working for a recruiting and consulting agency, that turnover can be high in the healthcare industry.
Oh, so
LMHA is no different. In any case, it's probably worse because we're on fixed monies. We're non-for-profit. So our turnover, I know a lot of centers whose turnover is 40, 50%. So I'm really excited to say ours is, usually 20 to 28% in the last 5 years, just from me monitoring it. But every year it gets better and better. And so I see these initiatives that we're talking about work. And if we can do it as a nonprofit organization with little resource money to put towards this, I know that other industries with bigger budgets can do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Dr. Malaska, thank you so much for joining us today. You'll have to go back and watch the first part. Hallie's been amazing and shared so many resources. And then Hallie, you have Felicia Woodward said she's so proud of you for spreading awareness of mental health. And she also said, yes, employees work better and are more dedicated when their workplace has good mental health foundation and understanding. And I completely agree. And then Zach said he's so proud of you and your passion. So I think that he's watching and I'm sure he's great. So we were talking a little bit about some of the things that you have done. So we gave everybody, 3 top tips of what HR departments can do. But you mentioned to me that you guys have created 3 pillars for your organization to create a mentally healthy workplace. Did you want to are those different than the tips that you gave already?
No, they're not. And it's something that I'm not about reinventing the wheel. I've taken this information from the resources that I provided you from. So in no way, shape, or form are these my idea. So I think that's important to note. But all of this information, you can use these resources, especially the workplace employer website. But it's leadership, raising awareness, and access to services around mental health to help cultivate a overall healthy mental health atmosphere for your employees.
Okay, wonderful. And I'm sending, Joanne has the pecanvalley.org community resource guide. And there's about 10, maybe 15 different links to resources all online that you can find information about offering better mental health resources to your employees, your colleagues, and within your organization. And I think that you have obviously offered so much incredible insight. And one thing that we went over is that HR sometimes doesn't take a step back and realize that we need a break too. So I would encourage those watching to really think about that for sure, and know your EAP, know your benefits. Ask your leadership, what are our policies on mental health? Do we have a mental health day? Do we support individuals who are seeking mental health treatment? Really start the conversation because it is so very important. So on that same idea or vein there, I have a question for you because you have 200 now hours of PTO. If I were to give you an all expenses paid, you can go anywhere in the world vacation, what would you do with that time?
So I would love to buy an RV and probably visit every national and state park in the US. So I know it probably wouldn't cost that much, but I'm basic and I'm very simplistic. I love to camp and just be out there with nature. And so getting away from the hustle and bustle would be amazing.
Well, I think that's a really common thing within mental health, like, going outside, being outside.
It's so important. Getting in that sunlight.
Mm-hmm. And I also, when I was a child, we traveled a lot. We never flew anywhere. We were from Wyoming and drove everywhere. And I have seen so many national parks, and still to this day, those were some of my absolute favorite trips. And they're amazing. And we have wonderful outdoor resources here in the US that you can go and take a family and just relax and be in nature. So that's a really cool answer. Last week, Takesha said that she would take her entire family to Paris. She's always wanted to go. And if money was like no issue, she would take everybody. So
that's amazing. I go to Cabo in 2 weeks. So I'm trying to get all my work done, and I'm just taking a few days from work, and I'm going to go sit on a beach and just hang out. So we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, no,
I take this advice to heart. I'm telling you. I'm so productive, so it works.
I'm proud of you because it sounds like you used to not. It sounds like you overwork maybe. I
did it to myself.
Anybody that's watching, please go ahead and let us know, what would you do if like an all expenses paid, money wasn't an issue, you just need to relax, and it could be a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it is. Where would you go? What is on your mind to just relax, the best vacation ever? I love asking people this question because you always get really fun, different answers. And I see that Joanne has shared the Pecan Valley Org community resources, and she's also
shared. That's fantastic.
I think she shared NAMI. Is it NAMI?
NAMI.
Okay. And that is another organization, a U.S. national organization that has a lot of information for this upcoming month. They have some really cool, like you said, they have printables, they have posters, they have infographics. You can actually download like already graphics created, and you can put them on your website. You can put them on your social media. And it's a really great way to start those conversations within your group. Within your organization, like, hey, it is Mental Health Awareness Month. We're going to talk about some things because I know not everybody is so good as you at talking about mental health, because it is such a taboo subject. It's such a,
It is.
there's so much stigma around it for so long.
There is. I really think that stems from lack of education,
Yes.
or feeling people are thinking someone's different from them because they struggle with something. But I think it's the opposite, because if you think about it, at one point or another, we all have experienced some sort of stress, which leads to depression or anxiety. So even if it's situational, we have all been there and done that. So in my opinion, it's the exact opposite. And I agree with you. We're seeing slowly but surely, we're seeing the stigma break, and it becoming more of a common topic to talk about.
Right. And I think that as HR practitioners and people that are, in leadership organizations, you have to lead. You have to be the ones that break the stigma. Sometimes these conversations for certain people can be really uncomfortable, but being open and honest and understanding and empathetic about these issues, and dealing with people at a human level is going to help everybody. It's going to help move your organization along. So speaking of travel, Marissa says that she would spend an entire month traveling around Asia. So that sounds
that sounds amazing.
I know. How wonderful that would be. I can't imagine taking more than like a week off all at once.
That's how I am. I'm ready to come back to work after a week. I really am. I come back so excited. Usually the day before, I'm already texting my boss, like, how are things going, and things of that nature, because it's the same way for me.
I know. I was talking to some HR practitioners, some recruiters and talent acquisition people from Europe. And one was in Scotland, and they have a mandatory minimum. You have to take a certain amount of days off. And they do it specifically for mental health. They're like, it is not healthy to work every day of the year. It is not healthy for anyone, not the organization and not yourself. And I just couldn't believe it. I was like, wait, they make you take time off? Like, how can I get this deal?
We do that. Our associate executive director will not let staff just work through lunch. He encourages, like, you need to take that break, get away from your desk, do whatever you need to do, but take a break from that task that you're doing and step away and take some time to yourself. So I absolutely agree with that concept.
Yeah. And we have a client that is in a beautiful mountain town, Vail Health in Vail, Colorado. And they have started offering like yoga on site. I mean, they've been dealing with a lot of COVID, and this year they started doing, anything that they can do to help where people relax and help people de-stress and deal with that, the mental stress of day in and day out, these high stakes kind of situations in the healthcare industry. And I thought that was a really cool idea, offering, part of offering good mental health is offering support and the education around ways that you can de-stress and ways that you can help prepare yourself and also deal with your own mental health. So if anybody has any other ideas or any other examples that they have at their organization where they're, taking time off, they have other programs, I would love to hear from you. So as we wrap up today, is there anything that you feel like you didn't cover that you want to reiterate or stress to HR practitioners, anybody that's watching, about creating a mentally healthy workplace?
Well, I think that we covered a lot of the 3 pillars that's so important. And I think more than anything, just, if you don't have a seat at the table with leadership, get there. It's okay to be pushy. It's okay to make your business case as to why you need to be there. I'm grateful enough that my leadership saw that very early on, and I came into a seat at the table when I got here. But for a lot of folks, that's not the case. And so I would say, be confident, take charge, and go in there and be like, this is why I need to be included. And our roles now are so much more strategic than they once were. Like you said, we're not just operational anymore. And so, in my opinion, you really need that HR expert at the table to have a say, to produce these ideas, to hopefully help cultivate a healthier mental organization.
Yeah, no, I think you're right on. You're absolutely right on. And it has to be an open conversation. And you need leadership buy-in. And I think one of the things you were saying, the education piece, when we were talking last week, I literally went and looked in our healthcare benefits because I didn't know. I didn't know what our actual mental health care benefits were. And there were some pretty surprising, they do cover counseling sessions. They do cover, there was a lot more that I just didn't know. I always think of healthcare, as can I go to the doctor when I'm sick? Can I get a flu shot? Can I, if I need stitches, am I going to have to pay out of pocket? But there's so much more to healthcare coverage. So just honestly educating myself about what we had was really helpful.
Yeah, and for a recruitment tool, that's important because honestly, a counseling session is anywhere from $150 to $175 out of pocket. So you can imagine how expensive that is. So a lot of people can't afford their mental health services, and that's not even possibly needed medication. So I love, we all know about the hidden paycheck in the HR world. And so really get those benefits, mark that up for your employees and let them know what it is that you're investing in them, not just physically, but mentally as far as healthcare goes. And that will go a long way to make them feel valued. And so it is expensive, it costs a lot, but it's worth it for the employer to have such benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. So Felicia shared that she would go to a tree house in the middle of nowhere and relax and fish and etc.
That sounds amazing.
I would maybe recommend you can go ahead and go to Wyoming, Yellowstone Park, or Montana, Colorado. I love that. It's a slower pace of for sure. Dr. Malaska says, it's insane how much paid vacation all of the United Kingdom and in Europe have. In the US, we offer so little time, and we really work. How do you say that? Like, we live to work and they work to live.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very different frame of mind. So that even Canada have way more paid vacation, as nurses were allowed to set a number of paid days for mental health and chiropractor and PT for back problems. So I'll find that too.
That's such a great point. And employers should look at their vacation or PTO systems, and because that really isn't an expensive way to provide that service. I mean, I love our PTO system here. They really invest a lot into it. I mean, we get to accrue up to 650 hours and it rolls over year to year. So we are so grateful for that because we need that time. You just do. So that's another point. That's a great point that you made, Leah, that our other employers should look into that, because honestly, that's not a big hit to the budget to provide that. And a lot of staff may not use all those hours, but just to know that it's there for them in case something happens or they need that mental health day, it really goes a long way.
Right. And one of the biggest things that we also talked about is when we first spoke was mental health in the workplace is so much more than an EAP. An EAP is a very crucial part of it. And if you don't have one, you need to look into it. And if you need help finding one, reach out to Hallie, reach out to, people in SHRM, do your research. I will always help provide resources to find that kind of thing. But it's only one part. There has to be more just an EAP. We can't put all of mental health on a third-party outside organization. We need to make sure we are understanding and we are aware of the issues and we talk about it, because we want to move our organizations forward. We don't want to fail or be stagnant. And to do that, we need to support the people who work with us. Absolutely. So your mom, so she says, sadly, mental illness is real and way too many people are, suffer. What a blessing for all the hard work, passion, and dedication that is being put forth to bring more awareness and resources. Thank you, Hallie and Leah, for sharing your time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mom.
That's so sweet of you. And then Felicia says that speak out and spread mental health awareness. More people who help make others aware, the more people will be acceptable and seek the help that they need and also help others. So I think it's just a cycle. Like, we have to talk about it, put it out there, have those uncomfortable conversations, and start. You have to start somewhere. And I think we're finally on that road.
We are.
So thank you guys so much for joining us today. And thank you, Pecan Valley, for allowing Hallie to spend a full hour with us, engage with us. And thank you for providing all of these amazing resources. If somebody has more questions or they want to reach out to you or just like be like, hey, I want to be connected with this ray of sunshine. What should they do? How should they connect with you?
So if they just go to our website, there is a leadership tab that has my information on there. They can also call our main number and ask for me, and they'll be able to direct them.
Okay. And are you open to connecting on LinkedIn with people that are watching?
Absolutely.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Thank you so much. And I see that Joanne just shared the SHRM activity number. So if you need a PDC credit for your SHRM continuing education, please go ahead and copy that down. Dr. Malaska says, thank you so much, Hallie. Keep the warrior spirit up for mental health. We need it.
Thank you so much.
That's awesome. Yes. And one thing I wanted to say is when I first met you, you were talking about how you serve and whatnot. And I think that your organization is very cognizant of being servant leaders. And I think that is, I would love to see it in all organizations, but I just wanted to say congratulations and kudos to you guys for being just leaders in your area and being servant leaders. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes. And we will continue this conversation another time. I'd love to have you on again to talk about more issues, mental health in HR.
Anytime. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful
Bye.
week. Bye-bye. So Hallie, we just stay on for about 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay. You did phenomenal.
Oh gosh. Thank you. I hope I didn't talk too much.
No, I wanted this show is about you and about the knowledge you have, like not about me.